you guys about how we want to do this moving forward.
Sam, get in the cart, please.
It's 10 minutes plus one, too.
Get in the cart, please.
Oh, okay.
Hello everybody, this is the final from MCC ProAm Karting race number 1. This is LO206 Masters. Starting along with us or behind us with a nice little gap in between are the LO206 Juniors. I'm rolling off the grid in 10th. There are 12 of us all together. The pre-final did not go too well for me, so I'm in the back. Although speed-wise, I'm still probably about 0.7, 0.8 off of the front group, and I have work to be done. But the number 4, he's going to be getting past me here in a second and taking his place in front of me in the grid. We will be doing an extra lap. I'll just tell you right now, we get waved around for one more as we come to the start-finish line. As I mentioned at the end of my other video, the only change I made for this race from my previous race was narrowing up my front end. I had it a little wide going out for the pre-final. Figured I'd give it a shot. I took a couple spacers out in the front, and I will say it felt pretty stable, pretty decent throughout the race. But, the weather at this point in time, the track is nicely dried out. It looked like it could potentially rain again, but it never did. As you can see, the clouds look beautiful up in the sky. It's a nice spring day. The trees are all getting green. If you ever get the chance to make it out to the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, definitely take that opportunity. It's a nice, fairly new track. Very pretty facility. And it's just a pleasant place to go race go-karts. So, as I mentioned, we are getting the wave around. I will mention there are about 4, I think there are at least 4 racers in our LO206 Masters heat that came over from Newcastle. Well, I think Newcastle is their primary track. But I think they came out on Friday and did a little practice, so they were all pretty solid. They were all pretty tuned up when race day came. So a few of them are up towards the front. I think the 4 right in front of me, his main track is over there in Newcastle, but he's raced here a few times, and he's been in some of my other videos. The 18, the 17, and one other, 18, 17, and the 4, and then the 601, I think is his number. Black card, he's closer, he's around where I'm at in the field. But we're about ready to form back up. Again, I kept my gearing the same, no changes there. I don't know if you noticed for this season I switched sides on my rear-facing camera. I used to have it basically sitting on my chain guard on my motor. I flopped it over to the other side and I've got it strapped on the side of the seat. I'm just using 2 GoPro Hero 7s. The image stabilization seems to be pretty good. And, it smooths everything out. I think the video comes out looking pretty decent. So we are gridded up. We're getting ready to go. That's the 610, I think. It's hard to tell on my software. But the fellow in the black cart back there, he's also from Newcastle. But we're coming on out. Everybody keeps it cool. Nobody crashes. I kind of like that the 4 kept the other guys kind of pinched down in, so nobody washed out on either the 4 or myself. I was able to get past my buddy Otto in the orange helmet number 89. And I'm falling in behind the 86, the current, or the 2022 MCC ProAm LO206 Masters champion is directly in front of me. So we're all formed up in a nice little line pretty quick. And it's going to be, I think, as you could tell in the dialogue you heard at the beginning, the race director, I believe, said it was going to be 10 minutes plus 1 lap. In my head, I could have sworn I heard him say 10 minutes plus 2 laps a little earlier, and I did not recall the 10 minutes plus 1. But I still was not confused when I came around to the finish. So right here, I just bobble this up, go a little bit in the dirt, and that's going to cost me. Otto gets on past me and gaps me up pretty quick. So little bobbles like that, you just, seat time usually takes care of that. And so if you have the opportunity to log in some seat time, definitely take it. It's not going to hurt, that is for sure. But I'm kind of edging back up on auto. Nobody is massively ahead of us. Auto goes a little deep on that one. As I mentioned, Otto was geared a little bit lower, so he has a little more pull out of the corners. He was not a whole lot lower than me, but just a little bit, I believe. I know he dropped a tooth out after our initial practice, but he's running a different driver, so we're not, he's running a 17 driver, I believe, and I'm running a 16, so the difference isn't as big as if you just change one gear and you're both running the same driver. If that makes sense to you. If you're karting, you probably know what I'm talking about. So then Otto kind of hangs it out there a little bit, and he knew he did, so he's checking to see if anybody's right behind him to capitalize. And unfortunately for me, I was a little too far back to take advantage of that. Although you can see it did kill his momentum coming down the straightaway because I was able to close up on him just a little bit. And we still have, so the 18, he's right in front of Otto in the other orange helmet. He did fairly well in the pre-final, but when it came to this final, he started having some issues with his, he suspected it was his clutch, but he was a little off the pace, and we started reeling him in. He was about maybe a second and a half slower than he was in the pre-final. But with this being the final, I'm starting to, get kind of back in the groove, get the hang of it. I'm getting a little bit better at that dip, although I'm not really good at it yet still. I'd like to be able to just go out and run through the dip only like 100 times. But we can't really do that. So again, we're whipping through this little S turn. Again, it's every time I come to it, I'm thinking to myself, do I want to try something different? Keep the same? I still need to experiment with that section, but I have to say, this turn 1 coming up at the end down here, it's just a blast to go around this full blast without just, without lifting. It's just fun as hell to drive around that and then come down here and make this corner. This whole section right here I really liked. And probably had I geared a little bit lower, I would have been able to hang a little bit, because I'm able to make, I believe, some gains through that section and close back up, but once we hit right here, it's kind of a drag race now down through here, and I get pulled on a little bit right there, at least with the gearing that I had. But as you can see, the 18, he is coming closer and closer to me, and I think he's about to call it quits right here because his kart just wasn't behaving correctly, and he mentioned he was going to save his tires instead of just logging slow laps. He's going to pull off, and yeah, he's pulling off, and he's going to save his tires. The tires that you run here at MCC are also the same tire that you run at Newcastle, so for me that makes things good. I just have a bunch of MG Reds now. I don't really need any Hoosiers. So as you can see, I closed up a little bit on the 89 right there, but he gasses it back up and pulls back a little bit more on me. It's weird when I'm watching this on my computer, on my monitor. It does look like they're farther away than they feel when you're actually driving. To me, it seemed like I was relatively close, but when I'm watching it right here, I'm like, I'm not as close as I thought it was. When you come up through here, you can look back over the left, and you can see the lead pack is really, they're not destroying us. They're still within eye shot, which is always encouraging to me that, when I can look out and see the lead group not too far away. In the days of old, sometimes they'd just be, I don't see anybody. But they're heading down. They're about half the straightaway ahead of us, if not a little bit. They're about half the straightaway, 2/3 of the straightaway ahead of us. I think the actual overall leader might have pulled out in front of that group in front of us and been kind of driving around by himself. But as I mentioned, I like that section there, and I was able to close back up on the 89. But I have a feeling once we go around these next couple corners, he's gonna start stretching back out on me. I didn't take that so well either. I think I might have changed my line just a little bit to try to keep my momentum up, but not run into the back of the 89, and it kind of pushed me out a little wide. It's one of the things with the LO206. They don't have tons of torque or anything like that. It's mainly it's a momentum game on these right here. And as I mentioned, I was pretty sure I was just going to try to go wide around Otto. If you run into the back of them, it bumps them ahead, but it slows you down. So I opted not to do that, but once I swung it out a little bit too wide, I damn near drove in the grass. And as you can see, at this point, looking at my rear-facing cam, I do not see any of the LO206 junior class bearing down upon us. But I will spoiler alert you a little bit. That will change here in the next couple of laps, so hang in for that. This is a little bit longer video, but I thought I'd leave it in there just people can see themselves on camera. And again, like you said, the lead pack's just going around the corner down there. You don't want anybody to crash, but they're within close enough distance that if they do have some kind of a tussle up front, or somebody drives off in the grass, we could potentially pick up a spot or two should they really start slicing and dicing up in front of us. We just have to keep it clean where we're at. But Otto is all over the 86. As I mentioned in the last video, that one junior driver that was in front of us, that's her uncle in front of us. And the 89, doing his over-the-shoulder check to find out if anybody's creeping up on him. When I talked to him after the race, because that is who I pit with, the 89, so I definitely can't, I'm not going to be roughing him up, because then we go back to the same area. Not the best idea. But, right there I'm getting pretty close, and I'm thinking, maybe I'm going to have a shot to try to get around them at one of these points up here. But again, that was another one of those instances where I think I eased off just a little because I didn't want to hit him and kill my momentum or crash him. But letting off the gas a little bit, it's a toss-up. At the Grands last year, I was in that situation, and I did not let up, and to me, I barely bumped the guy in front of me, but it was just enough, and it sent him around. Now, right back there, somebody went off the track, and that was just a terrible place for that to happen. I felt like I slowed down a small amount. I know that I was more apprehensive because I did see the yellow and I did see the cart sitting there. It was just in a terrible spot. So as the race progresses, I am getting a little better through the S's right there. But as you look in the rear camera, there are 3 carts back there. And I think we're getting the 2 to go right now. So we have 2 laps. Of course, I see that. I realize I have 2 laps. If anything's going to happen for me, it's going to have to happen very soon. And I know that Otto wants to get by Lewis up there in the 86. So he's going to be thinking about trying to do something. And again, I've closed back in. I'm trying to figure out, when and where can I get under anybody. But, really, a lot of times you just have to wait for somebody in front of you to bobble. And if they don't, it's, tough luck for you. Again, I didn't get through there, I don't think, as cleanly as I probably would have liked. And they pull a few more feet on me right here. And this may look smooth, but really, you're just kind of holding on through here. Like for me, I'm bouncing around in the seat and I'm just holding on. I'm trying to think, there's at least one other spot in the course where you're just, for me, I'm just, holding on, man. Oh, I'll tell you when we get there, but we haven't gotten there yet. So I do not have any clue at all that I have 3 carts behind me. Not a clue. I come down here and I'm like, okay, come on, man. I see that Otto, I think, is going to try to shoot down on the inside. He thinks about it, but he ducks back in line, and I'm watching this, and I start to try, and like, oh man, there's a cart right there. So that ends up pushing me a little bit out of my line. And then now I've got that other cart on the outside of me, so I keep it down in there. I mean, I know right now at this stage of the game that my chances of catching the, the orange helmet fellow up there, number 89, or the 86, they're pretty much done once I get one of those two carts in there, so I didn't really try to push anything as far as getting anybody's way or whatever. And then I kind of bobbled in that dip down there again. Then right here, I'm like, oh, looks like Otto got spit out of the back, and maybe he's slowed way down. So I try to give her all I got right through here, and it wasn't enough. He was able to hold me off. So anyways, a little excitement there at the end. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe. If you know any of the juniors that were in this and they want to see those last laps, let them know. And everybody have a good one. Talk to you later.